Episode 156, ChatGPT launches study mode.
The primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI is a golden opportunity.
How do we ensure that this technology is regulated?
The long arc of technological history is now in an extraordinary new phase.
The AI 6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
OpenAI has recently launched Study Mode, a new feature in ChatGPT designed to transform the AI chatbot from an answer-providing tool into an interactive educational tutor. This feature was officially rolled out earlier this week, and I've been testing it. And it represents OpenAI's response to growing concerns about AI's impact on education and students' critical thinking skills. And in today's Long Listen episode, I share with you the interview from this week's digital download. I have this slot every week on Dublin City FM. So you'll now hear my interview with Caoimhe on Good Morning Dublin.
So ChatGPT has just launched a new feature called Study Mode. What is that?
ChatGPT wants to get into the education game, it seems. And I spotted this on the app 2 days ago. And so I started investigating it. And essentially, rather than giving you direct answers to your questions, because that's what ChatGPT does, it's encouraging students or learners to interact with it in a way that develops their critical thinking. For example, I asked it to help me study Irish history over the last 100 years. And rather than just giving me out some answers, it began to ask me questions. So it's a very different way of using the app.
There is a big debate going on at the moment with ChatGPT because you see a lot of people are using it as their main way of studying for their exams or writing essays, and plagiarism is happening a lot now in colleges and secondary schools. So why has ChatGPT decided to now make this function? Will that improve it or just exaggerate the issue?
Well, I guess your point is well made, and that students are already using it. So rather than just having it as a tool that you use to cheat, why not use it as a tool to actually help you learn? Because in life, there aren't any shortcuts. And if you take shortcuts, you're eventually going to hit a wall, I think. So I guess they're trying to use the technology in a way that is beneficial to educators. And it'll be interesting to see if schools use it, if they embrace it, or if they ban it on devices. We know many schools in Ireland have gone down the digital route and students have iPads. So it remains to be seen whether in an Irish context it will be used by teachers and if it will be used in a school context. So it's different to regular ChatGPT. It is trying to develop your critical thinking, and it's integrated a couple of different educational techniques. So without getting too technical, ChatGPT are explaining them as Socratic questioning. So asking you questions to try and promote your critical thinking. They have step-by-step guidance, and they've also built in assessments and quizzes. So I guess they're trying to encourage ChatGPT use in a responsible way.
And how does it encourage active learning? And what is going to stop students from just using ChatGPT the way it was initially designed, getting an answer straight away? Why would they decide to instead use the study mode?
That's one of the limitations of the feature. Students can absolutely go back to normal ChatGPT. So if their intention is to shortcut homework, essays, or maybe preparing for exams, then they can. But if their intention is to use it as a study aid, then they use the study mode feature. OpenAI have also acknowledged that limitation. And there's also currently no control for parents as administrators, for example, on paid versions of the tool. But I suspect that's something that they'll bring in the future. So really, I guess it's down to personal responsibility, but that's a very big concept if you're talking about maybe a 13-year-old who's going into first year and who's suddenly having to deal with science topics like physics and chemistry that they've never done at primary school, and they've got ChatGPT to help them with their homework.
Now, there is a lot of debate going around with ChatGPT, with people saying if you use a dash in your answers or in the paragraphs you provide your school with, or even in your work, that people are using that as an indicator to show that ChatGPT was used to create this piece of text. So will there be signs in study mode for teachers that they know that their students use this? And do you think that they will be penalised for that, or is it going to be encouraged?
So I think that we should be having open and transparent conversations around AI use. And when you don't have that, whether it's in work, whether it's in school, whether it's in your university or your college, then you're going to have what's called shadow AI, which is basically us using AI tools without any guardrails or policies in place. The M dash that you talk about, like the double dash, yes, is always used in tools like ChatGPT, and that can be an indicator. Other things like using emojis or line breaks or other indicators. But what schools and educational institutions need to do is, number one, have a policy and tell students what their stance is. And actually, I'm recently back from Harvard and I was studying AI and public policy for a week out there. And they told us that a couple of years ago, Harvard lecturers were told by management, have a stance on AI. You need to set what the ground rules are with your students. So is it A, AI is not allowed to be used, B, AI is allowed to be used, or C, AI is allowed to be used with some parameters and guidance? And that's what they had to do. And I think all educational institutions need to step up and decide what side of the fence they are on, but also to recognize that these tools are here. I mean, probably students are more proficient users. And I went to LinkedIn and I said, are you a lecturer? Are you a teacher? What do you think about ChatGPT's new study mode? And I had some answers. And let me just give you what some people said. One person said they've already blocked access to ChatGPT at the school I work in, despite of having in-training days teaching staff how to use it and how teachers can use it. It's banned on the kids' laptops. But I think they'll use it outside of school anyway. So I think we should be helping train the kids on how to use it. And I think that's a really good point. Teachers are professional educators and they use teaching tools anyway, and they're familiar in teaching methodologies. AI is here, so why don't we train the teachers to train the students?
I know for myself that I have definitely used ChatGPT on documents that maybe I haven't understood and I just needed it to be broken down maybe in a more digestible way. And I think a lot of teachers and students could, benefit from that. But how do the people using study mode know that the information that they are getting is correct and accurate?
That's where the integration of a human teacher and educator who's trained in a specialist topic mixed with the technology is probably the perfect combination.
Will there be a limit on the amount of documents that you can upload to study mode? Because I know for myself, as I mentioned previously, I have uploaded documents before and it would say, this is too large a document, I can't process it. Will people be able to upload full papers?
There are limitations depending on the package you're using. So if you're using a free version of ChatGPT, your token use is limited, which means the amount of data that you upload, because a token is a word, for example, or part of a word. So of course, with free, there is limited usage. But if you move up to Plus Pro or even Team Plan, you'll be able to exponentially grow and expand the amount of data that you're uploading. And I even asked my son in preparation for this interview, had he heard about study mode? He's like, no. I'm like, but you have ChatGPT, right? And he's like, yeah, I have it. And I'm like, would you use study mode? And he was like, well, if it helps me, I absolutely would. And again, young people are not afraid of the tech. They're curious and they will explore. And I think the adults and the leaders, those in authority, need to be equally curious.
And who designed this new study mode?
So probably you will have educators involved as well as the technologists and the developers. I guess for your listeners, and if there's teachers and parents out there listening, you've got to understand that this is everywhere. It is on our smartphone, in our pocket, in our hands. We've got to be on the side of AI for good and to really guide the juniors in our lives.
And for a lot of people in university, often they will have to pay to access certain articles and papers. Will ChatGPT have access to these papers, or will people still be using university sources?
This is another move that universities need to make, is if you're not providing the information at the touch of a button, then students are going to go to another source in user-friendly way. So just remains to be seen what type of information you are looking for, because as former students or some existing students might be listening, you might have a library card where you can go in and get access to journals via PCs in the library absolutely immediately. So it just really depends on who has access.
So if I want to use ChatGPT, will I automatically be put into study mode if I input a question?
No. So when you open up the app, you'll see a plus button, and from there you can choose what you want to do, regular ChatGPT, or then underneath that you will see ChatGPT study mode /learn, and you tap on that and that opens your chat, and that's the signal to ChatGPT that you want to do study mode. So it's very discursive. It's almost like a discussion. So if you're a student, I would definitely encourage you to start testing it out. But remember, immediately you're not going to get the answers. It's going to make you work for them, hence study mode and learn.
And are there any customization options within study mode to suit different study styles?
Well, that's the whole thing. It's the questions that it asks you how you prefer to learn. So based on your answers, it will actually tweak how it interacts with you. So whether it's a quiz, whether it's a step-by-step guide, or whether it's questioning you. So by you answering its initial questions, it will actually engage with you in a particular way. But also, there's a separate feature within ChatGPT called custom GPTs. And I know some parents have already set up these, and you can actually train it in what you want it to help you study in, whether it's maths, history, or science. That's another way to use ChatGPT to help you as a study aid.
And just before we go, Joanne, if anyone wants to start using study mode on ChatGPT, what advice or tips would you give them to use it to their benefit?
Choose one topic. Choose a topic that you do have some knowledge around, and just test it. Do not use it if you're prepping for an exam right now. I would say use it in anticipation that you might use it in the future, but test and learn, and always ask it to verify its answers and its sources. And at that stage, it should give you links, and then you always check the links and check the sources. So practice and play and be curious. And then maybe ask your teachers when you go back to school if they're using it and if it's allowed to be used at school.
And that's Joanne Sweeney from the Digital Training Institute.